much anticipated season 5 of Downton Abbey begins Sunday, January 4th on PBS and WGBY. And on Saturday, January 3rd, we'll have our masterpiece ball at the Log Cabin in Holyoke, this year celebrating the women of Downton Abbey. There'll be ballroom dancing, of course, with a full orchestra, and there'll be jazz. Professor Jeff Holmes, director of the Jazz and African American Music Program at UMass Amherst, will be playing at the ball, and he joined us to talk about that and the role jazz played in the current Downton Abbey era of the Roaring Twenties.
I would think that on the one hand, they might be afraid of it, but at the same time, I think they piqued their interest, and it brought a different type of perhaps flavor to the way in which they could express themselves, because the music really is about finding ways to express yourself, and I think the popularity of the music, because of the types of rhythms that it had, and I think some of the freedoms that it seemed to imply for many people, made people feel like they could do some things that they hadn't done before. Probably in some ways in the same way as rhythm and blues artists and then Elvis Presley in the mid-50s found the youth of America and turned them on to some new music at that point.
Jazz, I think I'm playing right off of what you were just saying. Jazz always has that feeling of being kind of extemporaneous. I mean, I don't think of a Paul Whiteman or Beethoven or Mozart, to go way back,
right,
getting together and just jamming,
no,
with their buddies. That's where a lot of great jazz comes from. Just a bunch of serious musicians with serious chops, if I can use that term.
Sure.
Getting together, and what comes out sometimes is magic.
Oh yes, I mean it's a sense of exploration, and sometimes it's baptism by fire. A number of the artists, like Duke Ellington, when he was first playing with the Washingtonians, I mean, they had to fill an evening's worth of music. They didn't have an evening's worth of music. What do? You combine your musical forces and make tunes on the stage, elongate tunes, take some of the tunes that are part of that time period and put them into this new vocabulary and find different ways to say that. So I think a lot of the musicians those days were really writing the vocabulary as they were playing.
Let's talk a little bit about that night. I'm not going to ask you specifics, because I'm sure in your head you're still putting the program together, but there is going to be a full orchestra for the folks the upper crust Downton folks, if you will, but there's going to be a jazz ensemble playing. You're planning an evening out to bring folks kind of back to that era. Give us a little sense of the feel folks are going to get.
Absolutely. So it's a 10-piece instrumental orchestra, 2 trumpets, a trombone, 3 saxes, and the piano, bass, drums, and guitar. And of course, the guitarist also plays banjo, the bassist plays tuba, and then my wife will also be singing. This is an element that we did not bring on our last 2 performances for this wonderful event.
And she's a wonderful jazz vocalist.
She sure is. She's exceptional. Sung all over the world, and we're so happy that she'll be able to join us. We will be concentrating on music from the 1920s, but since we are right there in 1925, we will try to be even more focused to provide the music from 1920 to 1925, and there'll be some hits, plus one of the pieces that Jack in the Series 4 in Episode 4 sings. So for those that are fans of that, they'll enjoy hearing that.
You've given us quite an insight. Let's double back for our final moment or two together. You touched on the social change that jazz brought. People kind of loosened up a little. Women cut their hair shorter. Women wore shorter skirts so they could dance better to the kind of the lively, wild jazz music. It brought change to our world, didn't it?
I think so. And people were probably not as staid, and the music was there for entertainment, but it also had a rich musical value as well. And people like Paul Whiteman, and I'm not just using him as an example, but there were people that recognized that there was more to it than just this new fad. There was interest, musical interest, that musicians who might have been taught in a more classical way could invest in, and the musicians that were not as classically trained were very interested in the music that was happening in Tin Pan Alley, or would be orchestrated by great composers of the time. So there's a real sharing of the musical language there, and it just happened that it ended up in different places. And fortunately for us, we had people like, Fletcher Henderson, as mentioned, or Duke Ellington, or Louis Armstrong, King Oliver, Bessie Smith, that really showed us a lot about where music can go that we hadn't been able to see before that.
Well, there's no question it's going to be a great evening of music, jazz music. Professor Jeff Holmes, thank you for being part of Masterpiece Ball again for WGBY. Thanks for coming in and sharing some insights with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.